Hi, this is Amrita Sukumar, and I'm bringing to you this podcast called Unsettling. Look around you. Everyone is trying to create their own story. Make a tiny change in someone's life by just following their passion and in turn, inspiring the others to follow suit. This podcast brings to you stories of people who have defied the definition of settled set by the society and have created their own. They have found happiness in their version of settled. What is yours? Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Unsettling. And today I have with me my best friend, Aishwarya Vivek. And we thought we'll do a little bit of a twist this time. We keep on discussing about professions, but we thought we'll talk about, the entire experience of being a woman. From marriage to motherhood to being a soft skills trainer. I don't know what all she has done. So I am here with Aishwarya. Hi, Aishwarya.
Hi, Amrita. How are you doing?
I'm awesome as usual. You know that.
Yeah.
So, Ash, I already gave a short introduction about you. Would you like to tell something else to the listeners?
Sure. So, hello everyone. I'm Aishwarya, and I currently work as a soft skills mentor at a reputed research university in Hyderabad. So, pretty much my life is all about doing what I love, and that's how my dots have connected and I've come so far. So, for me, passion is my life. So, pretty much what I would like to say about myself.
I'm really glad. But then you were not a soft skills trainer before. You were following something else.
Yeah.
And then you moved to this.
Yeah.
What helped you make that choice? Or why did you make that choice?
So that's actually a long story. So if I could start off with saying that my favorite subjects were math, science, and English, right from the beginning, and it's even now it stays the same. Pretty much that maths has always topped my favorite list all the time. So being that kind of student, I obviously chose science stream because I thought that's what I'm made for probably. So,
Uh-huh.
and then I moved to engineering, and where I also loved the subjects. It was never a forced or a compelled decision that I took engineering. It was
Mhm.
my own um, conscious decision of choosing engineering over anything else. So I had my own favorite subjects there as well, with all cyber security and image processing. And I always thought I'll be a very, very awesome software engineer, software professional.
Mm.
So that's how my IT industry life started. And I got placed in a very good company where that company actually gave me plethora of opportunities to try out where and to understand where I was good at.
Mhm.
So there I actually realized that training is something which probably is my calling and is my
Okay.
niche. So I should try that out a little more than anything else. So that's when I realized, and that realization, it took some time. It took a year, it took a couple of months to take the brave decision to quit a well-paying job for
Mhm.
no reason but for following your passion. It took really some courage and guts to do that, but when I did that, that is when I realized that I should follow my passion a little seriously and not keep it like a plan B kind of thing. So that's when I took it up really seriously and did a course in training, which
Uh-huh.
was from ISTE. So
Acha.
that's the only certification that Indian government provides for trainers.
Okay.
And surprisingly, or maybe I don't know, fortunately, I stood second all over India,
Yes.
which actually reaffirmed my decision of taking up training. It kind of made me feel that okay, probably it's like a validation that I got from the world. And that's when I started working with number of training firms and started delivering trainings. I started making a lot of training modules for my own training and for the others as well. And amongst all these decisions that I was taking, I always had a feeling that I should somewhere help students,
Correct.
because I have seen number of students who come from vernacular medium who are very intelligent but face major issues while they go for a job, or while they're looking
Mhm.
for any kind of certification or anything. So I think the dots connected, and right now I'm working as a
You're
soft
actually
skills
working
mentor,
with students,
actually
yeah.
Yeah, and mentoring IT students. So
Correct.
I'm actually bringing the best of both worlds of what I studied and what I got trained in, and I'm
Mhm.
helping them out, and I think I can relate to them much more than any other mentor who comes from a different background. Because
Correct.
I, being an engineer and a trainer, I think that's how my dots have connected so far, and it's amazing how the universe conspires for you. So
Exactly,
yeah,
exactly. So anything,
yeah.
whatever education that you've taken till now, it never goes waste as long as you
Never.
always
Yeah,
connect
yeah, it
some
never goes.
experience or the other.
Always connects, and you never know how it will connect. That's the beauty of it.
That is true. So now finally you have achieved your dream in your career, and you also decided to uh, do something that scares our generation. Get married. Not just get
Oh my
married,
God.
get married in the arranged marriage kind of way. So I
Yeah,
ask you this question: how did you decide? One, because that is the number one query that comes in our head. How do we decide in
yeah,
minutes that this is the guy that I want to be with for the rest of my life? And also this:
yeah.
what if I get married and lose my independence and lose touch with my
Yeah.
friends? Would you? How would you like to address this fear?
So it is a fear. It is a gamble. I completely agree. I will
Mhm.
never say that it's a very easy path and it's a bed of roses. It's never going to be that way.
Mhm.
But I think how it happened, I mean, I can just speak for myself, although I cannot speak like universally for everybody. But
Correct.
I mean, I was never really like prepared, or it was never a rigid decision from my side that I will get married at so and so age or
Mhm.
so and so time of my life when I'm settled, as such, if people say that, once you get a job, you get, probably you buy something of your own and then you get married. I was never of that thought. I didn't have anything of that like such in my mind.
Correct.
So it was just a random decision where I met a person. So I didn't even meet him. We just spoke on phone,
Yes.
and it just sparked in a conversation. I mean, it was never a decision of getting married immediately
Mhm.
when the conversation happened. It was just a thought that, okay, this seems to look like something which is going to build up. It was just a feeling. It
Mhm.
was never a immediate decision, as people say that, once you see you fall in love, or once you hear you fall in love. No.
Mhm.
So it was just a decision. Probably it felt like you should talk more and probably understand each other. So that's
Okay.
how it happened. And then the conversations happened for a month and a half, and the decision kind of reaffirmed on its own as we spoke and spoke and spoke.
Hmm.
So a lot of so conversations have this beautiful thing in them, that you can actually explore a person's personality completely,
Correct.
right from the past there. And more than that, I mean, I am somebody who would like to know what a person is really passionate about in life overall, because
Mhm.
you're going to live with a person, you're
Correct.
going to stay with him or her in under one roof for your whole life.
Hmm.
It's scary. It is very scary, because you have no way out. So you have to choose a person who motivates and inspires you and is also passionate about his or her own life. If
Correct.
they are screwed up, then they're going to screw you as well. So you better make a good choice. Otherwise, there's no point, because you might be having a good life, and if you choose a person who's screwed up, so that's going to be bad. So yeah, so fortunately, I saw that spark in him as well, that he's very, very passionate about certain things. He's determined, and he inspires a lot of people, including me. And I also always wanted to be with a person who inspires me on a daily basis, and that's what we do even now with each other after even 4 years. So that's
Yeah.
something which is a very important quality, according to me. If that person can make you smile, can inspire you, and make you a better version, then please go for that person. No matter, I'm not even talking about looks or money here. That will all come, but this is more important in life.
Okay. Okay. So someone who inspires you is something that you have to look for. And the rest will
Yes.
is, as of course there will be a lot of sacrifices, and not sacrifices exactly, but adjustments. You have to balance each other out, is what I feel.
Yeah, I think I forgot addressing one point which you said that the fear of making compromises or
Fear of
leaving out.
losing your friends also.
I think that's a fear which we make up in our mind. I don't think it happens really with everybody. It does happen with some people that they do lose out on on their friends, on their social life, etc. But there are different reasons for it. I don't think we should complicate ourselves thinking too much before marriage of what is actually going to happen after that, because whatever is going to happen is still different from your thought. So
Mhm.
let's just keep things open. Having an open mind is more important before you get into a phase
Okay.
like this.
Yes, because we have still
Yeah.
been friends for the past 4 years, so I don't think it has affected you at all.
Yeah.
Uh,
So
but there's one thing that I want to know. What was the most complicated thing after getting married? How did you manage the kitchen? Because that is something that even I can't do right
no, I was just coming to that point. I
now.
mean,
Yes.
if you're scared of getting married, then I think you should be super scared about cooking, because that's the survival part. Okay,
I think we
you
should
guys
stop
just
scaring
can't.
people right now.
No, you guys, just imagine, right? You can't keep staring at each other and lead a life, or you can't keep falling in love and appreciating each other and live a life. You need to eat. Isn't that most important thing? Because according to me, that's the most important, and that actually binds hearts more than
Yeah,
any
but
love
that
or
is a
whatever
lot
you
of
talk.
effort, right? It's not the same once you get married because you don't have anyone to supervise you, and then you have to do everything from scratch, and then you wonder,
Yeah,
did your mother cook like four sabzis and dal and rice, and I don't know how,
yeah,
and we don't know what
yeah.
to cook for breakfast. So
That's true. That's true. So the first 2 months were trial error. I don't know, eating all crap food, eating food with too much of salt or very less salt, and you don't know how to make it up to a decent meal and all that things. So it all involved a lot of experiments. But I was at it. I was very determined that I'm going to get better at it. I don't know why, because number one, I'm not somebody who eats very spicy food, so I had no options to go and try out different food here in Hyderabad, because
Mhm.
people here eat quite a lot of
Yes,
spicy
yes,
food.
yes.
So I had no option but to sit at home and make my own meal. So that was one. And second, somehow my mom has, she has inspired me with all her different cooking different delicacies, and she's really spoilt me in that part. So I had no
Mhm.
option but to try something to maybe reach 30% of her cooking skills. I don't know, 20-30% is where I would rate myself. Now I can probably rate 50%. So I wanted to do that, but yes, I did get better at it. So cooking is no rocket science. I think anybody who wants to survive should know to cook decent basic food. So that's how we should start off.
I
And
think
I think
that
we
is
get better at
absolutely
it.
true. That is absolutely.
Yeah,
I think basics you should know how to make rice dal at least, because that is something
at
you
least.
do. The cooker cooks
Huh,
it for you. You just have to put
exactly.
water and lentils proportionately.
Exactly. So I mean, that's something basic. I don't know. I think we should have had a subject in school, like proper
I
cooking
wish.
with practical. I
I
don't know why
actually
we
wish.
didn't have that.
Yeah,
So
because
that's
I
something
had this
which,
discussion in one previous episode as well about teaching. We were talking about baking in schools, but hopefully cooking
hmm,
would be nice so that we can.
yes, it should be. It should be. That's something which I feel.
Moving on. Now, well, you're a mother to a very beautiful daughter, I must say. But what was your experience of motherhood? And since I know you and you do a lot of research in general, what kind of research did you do?
No
Uh,
wonder I got placed in a research university, which is
yes.
like suits my own skill
Suits your
set quite a
personality.
lot. Yeah, I know.
So, what kind of research did you do
Yeah.
before pregnancy, and what are the pointers that people should keep in mind from your experience?
So I believe I wouldn't suggest it for everybody, but what I did was I generally do a lot of research before stepping into any decision of my life. So
Mhm.
even for that matter, marriage, I
Mhm.
have done a lot of research on whatever I felt was important. what really is in store after that decision. So in terms of marriage, it's very difficult. No matter what research you do, something else is going to
Correct.
happen. But in terms of pregnancy, I strongly feel that research really worked for me. So I really wanted to know before pregnancy of what is it that goes in, probably every stage, every trimester, what is the symptoms that people face, what is the diet they take, what is the kind of exercises they do, what are the kind of books we must read in order to educate ourselves, because books play a very important role, and they help you visualize how it is all going to be.
Okay.
And
Would
I
Would you
have come
recommend
to
any book that you have read?
one is my favorite book is it's on the art of parenting by Suchitra Shenoy. So it talks about almost the first 1,000 days, including the pregnancy days and the post pregnancy days. That is the first,
Acha.
approximately the first year with the child. So it
Okay.
talks very beautifully about every aspect of pregnancy, of delivery, of postpartum, of parenting. So it's a very small book, although it's not really huge. I have read
Okay.
a couple of other books which I don't really remember, but there are a number of books. But this one, I felt as an Indian author, I could relate to her very well. And it really helps. Reading books and reading articles, it really helps immensely. So
Okay.
yeah, so the research, I did a lot of research, but that really helped according to me. And I would strongly suggest if anybody would like to plan for something of this sort, so doing research does help.
Okay. So since you've already gone through it, I would like to ask, what kind of diet did you follow? Because Indians tend to, push a lot of things down your throat when you're pregnant, like, beta, mithai kha lo, ye khao, wo khao,
Yeah.
whatnot.
So,
So, what kind of diet did you follow? And your
so
exercise regime as well.
yeah, so diet as such, I don't think I can call myself that I was on a very strict diet. It was a partially strict diet because thankfully I didn't face many complications where I was put on a strict diet. It was more of a proactive steps that I took in the form of diet where I wanted to stick to certain kind of foods which would make things easier for me. So as far as I remember, I was more on protein rich diet rather than and trying to reduce my carbs and fat rich stuff. So
Okay.
sugars and fats and carbs were something which I tried avoiding to an extent. I'm not saying again that I completely avoided it. It's not possible. But protein stuff as a vegetarian, I was told to include more and more. So
Okay.
I became a millet friendly person. I even follow it now. So I think millets are like God sent foodstuffs which we somehow ignored for so many years. So I think
Yes.
millets are really good for at least vegetarians who don't have much options. So yeah, so I stuck to more protein rich foods, and that really helped because uh, putting too much of weight is not really a nice idea during pregnancy, no matter how thin you are or how fat you are initially. So it's a good idea. It's good to keep the weight gain in control so that you have an idea of how you want to exercise or how you want to deliver your child, because everything matters. Your whole metabolism matters in the whole pregnancy and delivery. So that is very, very important. Yoga as such, I mean, I'm not an expert in yoga. In fact, I started doing yoga only after I became pregnant. I used to think yoga is very boring for some reason, but it's wonderful. It's really good. And yoga is something which anybody and everybody can do at any age because it's not something like gym. So
Correct.
specifically, I believe that one thing which worked for me during pregnancy more than diet and yoga is having a very, very positive and strong mind. So that's the major, uh, thing which works here
Okay.
more than
Okay.
anything else. So because your brain is so vulnerable at that point of time that whatever you think, it does that. So if you're really scared, then your symptoms will also result in
Manifest
such
like
kind
that.
of.
So, Ash, there are a lot of women who talk about mood swings during pregnancy. So did you go through it, and what experience about it?
And not really all throughout, but I think a couple of instances initially I did go through, but it was manageable. And thankfully, I'm telling you that, right? That I did read a lot about before about having mood swings and how do people tackle with it and what is the best thing to do at that point of time. So because I kind of visualized everything before, or to an extent I visualized. Obviously, articles don't give you the 100% information, and it's experience that talks more. But you still get an idea, and I feel your brain is kind of mentally, you feel mentally prepared
Prepared
before
for.
getting into all these things. So whenever I used to face some kind of instances where I face a little bit of mood swings, I used to first recognize that I have it because of certain reason, obviously because it's some kind of hormonal changes that are happening. And then I used to do more activities which used to make me feel happy and kind of divert me. So that
Okay.
is how I kind of tackled it whenever I went through
Okay.
such instances.
So I'm glad. When finally your daughter came into the world, how did you? I mean, of course, she's very cute and very beautiful, but then there's also something called postpartum, which no one talks about. We always talk about
Hmm.
being cute, but we don't talk about how the mother goes through a lot of changes.
True,
So,
true.
what is your say on postpartum?
So actually, you just spoke it out, right? So
Yeah.
we all are. I mean, it's a human behavior to, praise a child, admire a child, and it's possible. It happens. It's happened with me as well. Whenever I have met a woman who has just delivered a child, I obviously go running to the child. It's
Correct.
something smile and everything is so attractive. But we often forget to take care of a mother, especially when she's just given birth, because she's surely not at her best. And although she loves the face and everything, but there's a lot of factors which she is struggling to cope up with. And one of them is obviously depression, anxiety, and loneliness and everything. So thankfully, I had people around me to speak about when I was not really in a good mood, or when I really wanted a change, when I wanted to watch a movie probably, or when I was not feeling very good. So number one is you. It's good to have people around you to whom you can talk about your feelings and emotions. That really helps in such phases. Second thing is also to have some kind of activity apart from taking care of the child at that point of time, which will lighten you up at that point. So some kind of activity, it could just be a walk in your society, it could be watching a movie probably, it could be listening to songs, it could be anything practically. But such activities and reminder of such activities is very important at that point of time. So it's
Okay.
not really new about facing postpartum. I mean, everybody doesn't go through depression, but if you do recognize such kind of symptoms that you are going through, then it's good to talk about it to somebody whom you trust.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
they have a conversation, make sure that you're doing things that you like, and it's good to read up
yeah,
so that you know which are the triggers, and since you
yes,
recognize that you're going through a mood swing and it is not something that is coming out of a place of maybe darkness, so
yeah,
you will be able to handle it better. I mean, it won't go away completely,
true,
but you will be able to handle it better, is what you're saying.
true. And my
Um, yeah.
my thing has always been, so my opinion is that research doesn't give you 100% of knowledge, but it
Correct.
surely prepares you for something that is going to come in your life.
Exactly.
And second thing, what happens is you visualize better and you start recognizing your feelings and emotions, which is a very, very important part in such
That
kind
is
of
true.
phases.
That
If
is.
you do not recognize, then there is no point of finding a solution. At least if you recognize, you can talk about it. So that's how I
Correct.
feel.
Yeah, even I guess even I feel it because I've also gone through mood swings, so I know now.
Yeah, and mood swings is something which I think everybody has gone through at some point of the time or the other. There's nothing new in it, but the whole
Yeah.
point is when you start recognizing and you know you have to go back to your normal state, when you have to bounce back, that is when you start taking the right steps. Otherwise, you just start digging yourself into a
A
well
bigger
which
grave.
is,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great, actually.
I
It's
know, you
super
keep
well.
on going. Like once it is
Yeah,
really a spiral, right? If you're not
spiral.
aware of what you are going through, then what happens is it is a spiral. You keep on going down and down the rabbit.
Yeah,
But once you know that there is a key out to the normal world, I know it's not
exactly.
easy to be normal, but at least it
It's
is,
not easy.
yeah, it is,
Yes,
at least you can do certain things to minimize whatever is causing the problem, the trigger. At least
that's
you stay
true.
away from
That's
the
true.
triggers, for heaven's sake.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So that's the reason I think nowadays at least people are a little more aware about mental health and
Yeah,
anxiety and a little bit aware. I
little
mean
more.
that also was not there. I mean it wasn't very much spoken about it maybe 5 6 years back also. But now I'm glad
Correct.
people are speaking about it on social
Me
media
too.
and other things.
I'm
Yeah,
absolutely glad about it. So now moving on
yeah.
to this part of your life, now that now you see your daughter throwing a little bit of tantrums, how has it changed the relationship with your parents? Do you feel that you have troubled them enough?
Yeah, yeah, I think for sure, So, although she doesn't really throw many tantrums right now, she's pretty young for it, but I'm sure she has quite a lot of tantrums in store that she's going to throw in the coming years. But
Mhm.
even, I mean, this whole phase takes you through, makes you feel very nostalgic about your days as a child and when you were when you used to take your parents for granted and everything. So I think this phase entirely has taught me the value of parents, the kind
Mm,
of efforts they put in bringing up you. So
exactly.
it's not obviously hasn't been easy for them, the kind of sacrifices and things they have gone through for your happiness and your success is immense, and you
Mm,
start realizing it one by one only when you go through that phase.
mm,
So of course it has changed a lot. I value them much more than I ever did, and every single conversation we have, it's changed because it's you start paying more attention to details now, because you know what is probably the purpose of having that conversation. I mean,
correct.
before it used to be very random and casual, and you know that it's happening every day, but now
Mm,
it holds more importance.
yeah.
And I think one thing which you realize is that you, even if you are like even 50% of what your parents have been, you are
Mm,
doing a decent job. That is the feeling you start getting, because they have done too much for you. You don't know whether you will be so good and such a amazing parent. But even if you're like 50% of what they have been, I think you have done a decent job. That's what I feel when
yeah.
I started going through this phase.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
damn.
So
Of course, I'm not going through the motherhood phase, but I know that my nephew is one naughty guy. So I remember
yeah.
that. I mean, I have seen my brother and my bhabhi transform, and I have
Yeah.
seen the kind of bond that changed between them and their parents
Mm,
because
yeah.
my nephew was born. And I also know that somewhere uh, you realize why they said no to certain things,
Yes.
even though they
That's
didn't
true.
explain, but then you are pro it. You're like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
why they said no now,
You
which you
suddenly
didn't
start
before.
playing the perspective of a parent in certain situations, is what I have
Yes.
realized. Because when people talk about some instances or conversations they had with parents, I suddenly, my parent mode switches on. I don't know why. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, till yesterday, probably I would have been thinking like a child, like a
Hmm.
child or like a daughter. But
Correct.
suddenly now my mind even switches on like a parent, and I start thinking, okay, what the parent must be going through. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, I don't want to just think like a daughter. I want to think like a parent as well from now. And that
Correct.
gives me a holistic overview of the whole situation now. So that kind of, that's probably what maturity is all about, if I had to say.
I know. So,
Yeah, if I want that point.
I know we went completely into the deep philosophical zone, but I also
Yeah,
ask you about this. As you said, you are now a soft skill trainer, but how does it feel? Of course, now since it's the lockdown, you are working from home. But how did
yeah.
it feel in the beginning to leave your daughter and go for work? How was that feeling?
Yeah, that's one of the bravest decisions I have made. In fact, I just spoke about the brave decision of quitting the job and moving into training. I think that was nothing front of this, because this is huge. The kind of responsibility you hold of leaving a child and going for work.
Mhm.
Although this is just a part-time work that I've chosen, and it's not more than 4 hours that I'm away from her, but
Mhm.
still that's huge when you have to take the decision. That feeling or the courage you show to take that decision is something which is immense. So it was very, very tough, although I decided, I mean, there was some kind of confidence I had at that point of time that everything will be fine.
Mhm.
And I think that's what is still working out for me. So maybe it's that one point where you take the decision and you make a call for yourself and your career, and you show the confidence to yourself and the people around you that things will be fine. If you yourself are, dangling in between and you are not really confident, then it's not
Mhm.
going to work out. So
Okay.
I strongly feel like, as women especially, we think a lot about, a lot of things. We are just overthinkers by birth, is what I feel. So we generally also think, and after marriage and kid, we are thinking even more. So we have just crossed the limits of thinking. So
Oh.
even I am the same. But I think what really plays an important role is how you can channel these thoughts into much more productive and constructive decisions for your life, and not always about, people who are around you. So that's how I did. I mean, I decided that it will work out for me. I was confident enough at that point of time that it will work out, and I'll make it work out. So I think that played a very important role. So being confident is the key in such kind of phases,
Okay.
especially.
I'm glad. I'm glad. So, I think we've covered almost all topics, but then there's this one topic that I keep asking people on my podcast is what is your definition of settled?
Yeah. So I think for me, there's nothing called as settled, because the whole meaning of the word settled for me means that you have achieved everything you wanted in life. So
Hmm.
it could be true for some people. I'm not saying that it's there's nothing called as settled, but for me, the way I see it is that I don't think I can ever achieve everything I want in my life. There will
Hmm.
always be something more that I want to be, something more I want to explore, because there's so much to life than we can ever think of. Even
Hmm.
if, say, I maybe in the next 10 years, I might even again take a career pivot. I might again change a profession. Who knows? I mean, there are so many professions in the world that you might want to explore.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong. So you can practically never be settled. You can
Hmm.
practically never have everything in your life, because there's always something more to do and something more to aim for.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's what Unsettling is all about, and that's why I like the podcast with the name Unsettling.
I'm so glad. So, I guess this is it. We had a wonderful discussion. I think we covered all bases. We spoke about fear of marriage. We spoke about having children, mood swings, and I think postpartum, and the fear of leaving your child and going and doing a job. Basically, everything that we could cover as being a woman and being a strong, independent woman. So I hope
Yeah,
everybody, if they are going through a crisis and have want their questions answered, they might find their answers in this podcast. So thank you
yeah, hopefully.
for coming on the podcast
Thank
and sharing your experiences with me.
thank you so much. Thanks for inviting me.
I had so much fun. So, guys, as usual, keep settling, keep unsettling. I'm sorry, keep not settling, keep unsettling, and stay tuned to unsettling. That's all I would like to say. Thank you. Bye bye.
Hello, people. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this episode and you like Unsettling, all you have to do is give me a feedback. And for that, please visit my Instagram page, that is Amrita Sukumar underscore unsettling. And well, you can send me a DM or you can send me a mail. All the details are there on that page. I would love for you to just tell me how you feel. Yeah, and I will get back to you. And if you have any people who would like to share their stories, you have to let me know because I would love to listen to them. Till then, stay tuned to Unsettling. Like, share, subscribe, follow, let your friends know, and stay safe. Yeah? Bye.